Sir David Attenborough has been making natural history films for the BBC for over 50 years. In this time, he, perhaps more than anyone alive, has seen evidence for evolution in the stunning diversity of nature.
To find and film animals. This is the biggest flower in the world. The blue whale! It's the biggest creature that exists on the planet.
In a new BBC programme called Charles Darwin and the Tree of Life, Attenborough marks the bicentenary of Darwin's birth and shares his personal view of Darwin's brilliant but controversial idea that all life is a result of common descent by natural selection. In this interview for the science journal Nature, he talks about the programme and how the fact of evolution has always been obvious to him.
You would have to be extraordinarily blinkered if you didn't stub your toe against the theory of evolution very early on in your life. I mean, if you collect fossils, which I did as a kid, you know that ammonites change as you go up in the geological column. Evolution is not just a theory, as many a correspondent writes to me and says. It is a historical fact like any other historical facts, and as certain as the fact that William the Conqueror landed in 1066, except that it's more certain because the evidence for it's from a much wider range of fact. And of course, I can't remember a time when I wasn't aware of Darwin, to be honest. I know because it's written in my copy of The Origin that I bought The Origin when I was 18, but I'm sure that I knew about Wallace, certainly, when I was 14 or 12. It's not a biographical programme, it's not about Darwin's life. It is about the various objections which people in Darwin's time, and ever since Darwin's time, have found to accepting the proposition of evolution. So that in Darwin's time, geographical distribution of animals was not understood. The mechanism of genetics was not understood at all. Those are the sort of obstacles which people over and over again said to Darwin, it can't be true because of these reasons. Now, the solution to those questions have only been fully found in my lifetime. Surprisingly recent. I mean, we've only really understood about DNA for less than 50 years. We haven't understood about continental drift for 50 years. The reality of the fact that continents have moved and split apart wasn't proved even when I was an undergraduate. And I was at Cambridge and demanded from our professor that he taught us about continental drift. He said, I refuse to do so, because you can't demonstrate that there is any power which will shift a continent by a millimetre. All those answers to the obstacles to the theory have only recently been out there. But now they are out there, and that together, cumulatively, they validate Darwin's insight to a degree which we all ought to be aware of. The influence of the book of Genesis, which says the Lord God said, go forth and multiply to Adam and Eve, and that the natural world is there for you to dominate. You have dominion over the animals and plants of the world. And that basic notion that the world is there for us, and that if it doesn't actually serve our purposes, it's dispensable, that has produced the devastation of vast areas of the land surface. Of course, it's a gross oversimplification, but that's why Darwinism and the fact of evolution is of great importance, because it is that attitude which has led to the devastation of so much, and we are in the situation that we're in.